This is Adam Wakeman from Headspace, and you're listening to Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare on Rock 94.7.
I always love it when British guys do the liner. It makes the show sound classy.
It makes it sound like you got some old kind of Victorian kind of...
Exactly.
Victorian man doing it.
The first guy I had do it was Barney from Napalm Death, and I just thought, oh, it just sounds classier now. I feel like I'm on NPR or something. This is great. Now, on Ozzy's most recent album, Scream, that's the first one to feature you as a writing member of his band. Of all the songs on that album that you co-wrote, which one are you most proud of?
Oh, I think it would probably be the first track that I got involved with, which was the first... Was it the first track on the album? God, I can't remember which of the order. We ended up we kind of co-wrote about 8 or 10 songs, and Kevin Cherko, the producer, who had also written and recorded probably 20 or 30 songs for that album over an 18-month period. By the time the album came out, I didn't know which songs were which. They'd been renamed, and it was the most confusing thing. I had to listen to the album to know which songs I'd been a part of. But so my favourite track was the last one, which is "I Love You All," which is just I play a bit of acoustic guitar on, and that came on the last day of recording when I was about to go home. The producer Kevin Cherko said, I want a track that features these words that Ozzy keeps saying, that at the end of each show, you know, he says, "I love you all," and we had this idea of making a track of like a little bit of a kind of a thanks to his audience, you know, just a little musical interlude. And I had a little piece of guitar music that I'd written on a bus in Boston on the Black Rain tour, and I've got, you know, all the little ideas I get, I just put in the iTunes, and then I go back to them, and sometimes they're suited for other things. And this particular idea I called the Boston Sprangler, because it was almost like a little country kind of picking thing on the guitar. Mm-hmm. And I played that to Ozzy and Kevin, and they both loved it. So we worked on that for the extra day. I stayed an extra day and flew home the following day, and that became the last track on the album.
Adam, everyone who works with the guy seems to have an Ozzy story. And then Ozzy stories in quotes is just some moment that you have around him that you're only going to have with a guy like Ozzy. What is your Ozzy story?
How long have we got?
All the time you need, brother. All the time you need.
One of the strangest things about working with Ozzy is those moments are constant, because he's naturally Ozzy Osbourne. He doesn't try to be funny. He doesn't try to be wacky or crazy. He just is that guy. And when that becomes the norm, it's not until you reflect on some of the things that have happened that make it so funny. I mean, I remember being in a restaurant with him where a chef brought out a dish which the entire kitchen staff came out. It was like the chef's kind of creation, and I think he just asked for some chicken or something, or a steak or something fairly simple, and it came out in this most incredible, ornate, dish. And it came out, and he put it in front of him, and Ozzy couldn't really see, but there were probably 20 or 30 people that have come out of the kitchen and the staff of this restaurant to see what he made of it. And he just looked at it and just went, "What the fat?" And I looked up at the chef and just saw this guy's face. It was like 20 years of training as to be this head chef was just destroyed. But he doesn't, he just looked at it and went, "Oh, okay." But whereas most people would have a kind of a cut-off, if you like, where they would think, "Oh, well, I can't say anything nasty. I'll just say it's really nice." He is just 100% honest the entire time. What he thinks is what he says. It's almost, it's a daily occurrence where he says something like that, which is just makes you laugh.
It's a completely alternate reality that you have to live in to work with him, I'd imagine.
I think so. I mean, it's kind of it's a real privilege. I think of it as a privilege to be here and to be working with him. I'm actually out in Los Angeles at the minute, just finishing up rehearsals for this tour, and it's just, every day you sort of, you play a tune, you play Paranoid or Crowley or whatever, and you kind of think, I used to play this in a school band. I used to play this, bands growing up when I was 15 years old, and to get to play in the band with the guy that was a part of that, it's it's pretty hard to ignore each time it comes around.
Now, in addition to collaborating with Ozzy, you've collaborated with your father, Rick Wakeman, on several projects. What's your working relationship like with him? Is there some creative give and take there, or is he more of the director?
I think we've recorded about 6 albums together, which was mainly when I was from the age of about 18 to 26, something like that. To begin with, it was he'd written an album, and the label had suggested that I record a couple of tracks for the same album, which was the first Wakeman with Wakeman album. So I just recorded 2 pieces, and they put it on the album. As our kind of touring and our kind of working relationship grew, we tended to get a little bit more involved with some of the pieces. We would tend to maybe write 4 pieces each for an album, and then we'd co-write 4 pieces. And that's how it kind of developed, really. A couple of albums, I think we kind of gave each other solos on each other's tracks to kind of tie it all in. But the majority of the stuff was kind of, I would write 4 or 5 tracks, and he would write 4 or 5 tracks, and then we'd do a little bit together.
Now, your dad, Rick Wakeman, being a prog rock legend, you started playing classical piano at an early age. Did you ever go through a musically rebellious stage where you started listening to hip-hop or something like that just to get under your pop skin?
I think the only thing, I remember on one tour when we were touring around Europe, my dad he's not a big jazz fan, and I did start listening to some kind of, Thelonious Monk and, some sort of Dr. John and some piano players I knew would annoy him. So I did do that, but that was late in the day, really. I was about 22 then. A bit late to start annoying your father.
Honestly, I would take that over my kids, Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber, any day of the week. That's a musical rebellion I can live with, for sure. You're listening to 13 Questions on Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare. Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare is a 3-hour metal show heard every single Saturday from 9 until midnight on Rock 94.7, 102.9 in central Wisconsin, and online worldwide at rock947.com. Our interview with keyboardist Adam Wakeman of Ozzy Osbourne's band and his brand new band Headspace continues. Now, in addition to his legendary keyboard work, your father was also known for being able to rock a cape like no other man. Did you inherit your father's fashion sense too? Well,
some would say fortunately not, but incidentally, a couple of days ago, the Ozzy band was saying that I should be looking for a cape manufacturer because the cape is apparently on the way back in Prague. Now, I don't know whether I don't quite know what Ozzy would say about that. I think that it might result in a plane ticket home. But I'm game to give it a go. Let's get some suggestions. I mean, I'm not sure whether I could go down the 70s sequined route that my dad did during Journey to the Centre of the Earth in 73 or whenever it was. I don't think that's going to really make a full comeback. But maybe we need to just, bring it up to a little bit more of a current fashion statement. Really, with all the comic book movies being the rage these days, you do have a lot more options. You could go with the classic Superman, just straight over the shoulders. There's the Doctor Strange with the huge cowl in the back. I mean, there are options. The only problem when you go into the superhero kind of realm, it tends to involve underpants on the outside of your trousers. So it's that. How far do you go? If you stick with just the cape, then you can look, like a 70s prog legend, or you can go a little bit too superhero, which also involves probably many more hours in the gym to get the physique right. Not to mention the genetic mutations and the cybernetic enhancements and all that. Yeah. Swings and roundabouts, it really is. Adam, what is the most important lesson you've learned about music from your father? The most important lesson was probably, there's 2 things. One thing is to play less is the most important thing, is never overplay for the sake of overplaying. Play what's required for the piece or on the album or in that song. That's the first thing that I think I've learned over the years through working with my dad. The second thing, and probably kind of most importantly, when I was very young, I asked him to show me the beginning to, it was one of the 6 Wives of Henry VIII. I think it was Catherine of Aragon or Catherine Howard, one of those pieces. And I remember saying to him, going into his music room, his study, and I said, "Oh, can you show me the start of this piece?" I was only about 9 years old, something like that, and he said no. And at the time, I was really, really gutted about it. I thought, why is he not going to show me? And he said, "Go away and listen to it, and then play it." And that was the best piece of advice, because I went, and it took days and days for me to work out all the notes he was playing, and then sort of learn to play it. And that was the best piece of advice. Career advice as well, because so many times you're put in situations in studios or live where you've got to think very quickly and on your feet, and there isn't time to start writing things out. You just have to listen to it, work it out, know your intervals, know what you can and can't play over different chords, and be able to put that into practice very quickly. So that kind of stemmed from him sending me away as a 9-year-old to go and cry into my room.
Headspace has only done a couple of live shows. Are there any plans for a more expansive tour?
Yes, we're going to do 10 shows in Europe in September. We're just actually waiting for the routing from an agent in Europe at the minute, just to do. It's so difficult to get the time to. That's the only reason we haven't done more shows, is because my commitments with Ozzy. Lee, the bass player, has been away. He does Steve Hackett when Steve Hackett tours, and It Bites, and we're all kind of busy with different bands to pay the mortgage, as it were. And as much as we'd like to dedicate more time to Headspace touring, it's very difficult when we're all in different parts of the world a lot of the time. But we have sort of scheduled kind of September for getting some shows together, and then talking to Century Media out here in America, the possibility of maybe coming out here in the fall to do some shows, which would be great, because one of the joys of putting this band together, the whole point of it was to be in a band with your friends, and to spend time together playing the music you love and you've written. So it would certainly be a shame if we didn't get to do more shows. Now,
Adam, I like to provide this next question as a service to the metal and rock community, because you guys have to go through interview after interview with various dumbass DJs like myself, and we ask you a lot of dumb questions. So this is your opportunity to right the ship, as it were. Adam, is there a question you wish someone would ask you in an interview, but no one ever does?
How about, would it be possible for me to come in and sign the 10,000 copies of the album that you've just bought? That would be a nice kind of question. I'd happily do that.
Well played. You know what?
I don't mind doing. I love doing interviews. I think my wife's always just pleased that I'm talking the hind legs off somebody else rather than her about music, because I think I can see her kind of glazing off after half an hour, whereas, doing interviews with people like yourselves who obviously share a passion for music, you could talk for most of the day.
Yeah, shop talk. It's great, is it not?
It is brilliant.
Don't feel bad. My wife does the same thing. I get to talking about radio, and she just instant tune out, for sure, for sure. Well, that's great, man. That's Adam Wakeman, keyboardist for Headspace. Like them on Facebook. Follow them on Twitter at Headspace Online. Check out their official website, headspaceonline.com. And make sure you pick up their debut full-length album, I Am Anonymous, when it hits stores and the internet on May 22nd. Adam, thank you so much for being on Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare, man.
My pleasure. It wasn't that scary after all.
Well, false advertising, I guess.
Thanks for the call anytime, and hopefully we'll get to pop into your station sometime.
Sounds good, brother. Take care.
Cheers, Terry. Bye-bye.
Later. And thank you for listening to 13 Questions with Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare. Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare is a 3-hour metal show heard every single Saturday from 9 until midnight Central Standard Time on Rock 94.7, 102.9 in Central Wisconsin, and worldwide online at rock947.com. You can find Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare on Facebook. I'm Terry Stevens. You can follow me at Terry Rock 947 on Twitter. Thanks for listening.